There we go. Hope you guys are doing well. I haven't been doing videos in the last week. It's because I was on travel, and you can blame my buddy Chris, even though I love him. He came down to visit us 2 weekends in a row, which was awesome to see him for work. So normally what I would do is I would get videos in the tank. I knew I was going to be going on travel. I would have put some stuff together for y'all, and he came down. We ended up playing a ton of Hearthstone. Did not do any videos for you guys at all. And then basically I left for a week to go on a work trip. So I am now back, and I thought it would be fun to do a little gameplay video and catch up with you guys. Hope everybody is doing well. Thought we'd play some F-Zero 99. I still play a ton of it. I love this game. I'm so in love with everything F-Zero. So I am playing on the OG Switch, but today's video is going to be just, I don't know, I'm just going to call it a vlog. Just going to talk about some news, talk about some gameplay, just have some fun and chill out. Play with y'all for, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour or so. I gotta get my wife ready. She is getting ready to go on a trip, so we are basically a traveling family as of late. But I guess let's go back in time about a week or so with the Nintendo Switch launch, and I want to talk a little bit about that. I'll be doing some more videos on that as well, some gameplay videos to show off some of the stuff that I'm referring to. But Switch 2 hit me pretty hard, a lot of nostalgia, a lot of good feels. Took me back to a really cool birthday present that my mother-in-law and sister-in-law got me, and that was the launch of the Nintendo Switch 1. They bought me a plane ticket to go to New York. At the time, my sister-in-law lived up in New York. So she let us stay with her for a week, which was awesome. And we got to go basically to the Nintendo store and pick up our Nintendo on launch day. Now, they had kind of a weird thing going on where basically we couldn't get it that night. There was some weird, I don't remember if they didn't have the warp pipe pass back then. It wasn't a warp pipe pass thing, but we couldn't get it that night. And I remember we went out there and we tried, and it was like super cold because it was like March or February. I mean, we were not equipped for this. We're very, very basic Floridians. We didn't even have like heavy jackets or coats or anything. So we basically froze to death. We went out there and waited for a while, realized we weren't going to get it on launch, ended up just going back to her place, and then we went up the next morning and got it. So I didn't get that like super exciting midnight launch experience that I kind of wanted, but it worked out okay because we didn't get sick, we didn't get the cold, we didn't get flus or anything because of how cold it was. We were just basically happy to, be out there and have fun. It didn't matter. So a lot of the really cool stuff that you saw online, if you were following like Captain Nintendo Dude or some of the other people who basically went out there and camped out for a week, we didn't get to experience that like finality that they did, but we got to go the next morning, and it was fine. It was super, super awesome. I got the collector's edition for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which was sold out, so that was really cool. Spent so much money in the store. I couldn't even tell you how much money we spent at that store. Unfortunately, after losing all this weight, none of my clothes fit anymore, so all that really cool swag that I got, I can't even wear. So maybe one day I'll get to go back and buy stuff in large now instead of extra large because, or 2X or even 3X, dare I say. I'm actually like a medium now, so that's actually really, really cool. Anyways, I just remembered the Nintendo Switch 1 launch being awesome, and being up there for a week with her and just really having a great time in New York was tons and tons of fun. Playing basically every night after everyone would go to bed, I'd sit there and I'd play for like 3 hours. Played a ton of Zelda. Now, back then, it was only 30 frames a second. It was okay. I mean, I think the overwhelming excitement of the game really like overrode everything else. Just the fact that like I had the game, I was playing it. It was a handheld console. It was the first Nintendo console in a very, very long time that really made a dent in the market. Everyone was excited for it. Obviously Mario Odyssey coming out, there was just so much excitement around that time. So even though Zelda was only 30 frames a second, I was like, well, it's better than nothing, right? Like we had so many cool things. And I remember like the open world just made sense. Like you want to do something, you just did it and it worked. I never felt limited by my imagination in the puzzle solving, using physics, using, like taking a piece of meat and going to the volcano and setting it on the ground, and because it was hot outside, the meat would cook. Or seeing a rope vine that was blocking a path and lighting it on fire with a torch, and it would burn down and allow me to progress. Like, just really, really cool stuff like that. I loved everything about that. But it was 30 frames a second. Anyways, Switch had a great life. I talk a lot about in my videos how over time it lost its luster, especially with PlayStation 4 and like my love for the PlayStation 4 Pro, and kind of where, my trajectory took me really hard into being a true Sony pony. Like, I still am, even though I got the Switch too. Like, I am a diehard Sony guy. So, for me, the Switch became a really good second console for all the Nintendo exclusive games. A lot of them I never even beat. I just wanted to kind of collect them, like Advance Wars Remake and, Pikmin 3, Pikmin 4, like games that like I knew one day I'd get to, but I didn't really know when. And then ultimately I never really got to them, largely because the performance was so bad. So I was like, well, okay, we'll wait. I know one day there'll be a Switch Pro, and I'll be able to get into it then. I'll get a Switch Pro and everything will be great, and I'll be able to play the games, quote unquote, the way they were meant to be played. This, the 60 frame per second experience and higher, all that kind of good stuff, right? So I knew one day that would happen. Unfortunately, that day never really happened. We never got a Switch Pro. We ended up getting the Switch 2, which leads me to the videos I did of me going to launch and how much fun that was. And you guys, if you guys got to enjoy my videos on how that all worked out, right? How good that was, and getting to go meet the Target dog and just having a ton of fun and just really enjoying my time, right? So that was all good and fine and well. Really enjoyed my time with that. But now it's like a complete overhaul of like a total revitalization. It's like an absolute renaissance now for me of all these games that I bought, that I picked up, that, when I first, like I said, I wanted them, I wanted to have them, and then they just didn't really seem to work out right. Like, they just ran poorly. And Tears of the Kingdom was the one that really honestly broke me, especially with all the contraptions and the designing and the building of things, right? It just wasn't a pretty game, and it was unfortunate that it just ran so poorly. Boy, our team sucked, didn't we? I was like, I quit playing it last year. It was April of last year. I wasn't even interested in the story because the performance was just so bad, and I couldn't get invested in it. I wanted to make more creations. My mind was racing with all these really cool things that we could potentially build, and all these really cool things that we could it was the first game on Overload, which already the first game blew me away already. So having a second game with all these wonderful things, I was like, give me more of that. And it didn't resonate with me. So I didn't play it, I don't want to say like 40 hours or so. And then I kind of just put it aside. And then I really didn't play on my Switch much outside of, honestly, F-Zero 99, NES Championship, Pac-Man 99 till it shut down. But Switch really just became unfortunately just a relic of an era that just never really, to me, reached its fruition performance-wise. So obviously bringing in the Switch 2, Nintendo hyping up, hey, we're going to be releasing games that are now re-releasing your classics, just like we saw with PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 4 Pro. We saw it with PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5. The games you know and love are just going to run better. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I got into, because of the Nintendo expansion pack plus or whatever, getting into that game. Oh my God, being able to play Zelda at 60 frames a second, changed my life. That was so good. And I basically have put Mario Kart World on the back burner, honestly, which sounds kind of sad. I put it on the back burner because I've been playing so much I've been playing so much of Tears of the Kingdom. I was on travel this week. I played it pretty much all week exclusively. That's really all I did. And using the Nintendo, the app and the Nintendo Notes or Zelda Notes app, It's allowing me to basically go find all the shrines I missed and pick up all the pieces of armor that I missed and just basically, you know, go back and have fun with that. And man, I'm just lost in it. I'm like, this is the game and this is the experience that I wanted, you know, at launch 8 years ago. This is what I wanted. This is what captured my imagination, both from a gameplay perspective, but also from just a visual perspective and a performance perspective. And the loading times are better. It's like, okay, now we've really entered into that. So I know a lot of people basically say, well, hey, you know, it isn't really a Nintendo, you know, it's not really a Switch 2, it's a Switch Pro. And I'm fine with that. You know, give me backward compatibility, give me a better performance, and you know, my library, which was kind of just sitting there, kind of, you know, gathering dust. You know, now it's like the hottest thing on the planet. It's like, I can't wait to get home and play my Switch. And it's like, man, you know, I haven't even beaten Doom Eternal, and there's a lot of, or Doom the Dark Ages, and there's a lot of, like, I didn't beat Blue Prince. I didn't beat, like, all these great games that I got for my birthday, you know, or Christmas last year. They're just sitting there unopened. I mean, I got PlayStation 5 Pro. I got the limited edition. I got one of 11,000 of them ever made. Like, I got the Pro controller. Like, I got the setup. And it's like, but you know what? There's that Nintendo magic that just basically resonated and captured. It got me amped up and got me going again. And it's just such a great feeling for Nintendo to kind of, I don't know, go full circle in a sense. And I think I'm probably honestly, Grand Prix is gonna start in like 5 seconds, we'll just wait. I feel like I'm just an outlier almost in the fact that I know a lot of people had super fond memories of their Switch, and I can't even begin to tell you how many videos I've seen over the last week or two from some of my favorite content creators talking about, you know, the good times they had with their Switch and how they miss, you know, like saying goodbye to an old friend, you know, like I didn't have that magic later on, probably because I'm a 120 FPS snob, and because I have a gaming computer, and because I kind of expect HDR and OLED and high fidelity. Like, I want that experience. I want the Tempest 3D sound. I want all these cool features that the Switch just didn't deliver for me. And I feel kind of like a fake fan almost at times because I missed out so much on a lot of, like, I'd say the like last 2 or 3 years of that Switch Nintendo magic. And it's back. You know, knowing that Mario, obviously Mario Kart World's amazing. Reliving, you know, Tears of the Kingdom, you know, wanting to jump into Pikmin, wanting to play a lot of games now that I didn't really think were like good ports for the Switch now might be. And the ease of traveling with this thing is awesome. I took the whole dock and everything with me, and I typically do when I travel. I asked for the carrying case for my birthday. We'll see if I get lucky. But I basically took it in small pieces. I have a small backpack case that I carry around with me when I go bike riding. So I can go play like my console remotely now. So I'll go ride my bike down to the lake, and I'll sit there and I'll do like a lap or two with Mario Kart, which was fun. But I mean, if I have a choice, I'm always going to play docked. I want that experience. I want the bigger screen. I want the better sound. I want to hold the controller in my hand. Like, I want to have a good time with that. But yeah, it's just really cool, and it's so fun to see that like Nintendo's kind of like figured it out again. You know, like they really won me over. Not that they needed to, but I'm just happy to be a fan again and just get that high performance. So we get the Nintendo originality and we get great games to go with it. Like, sign me up. Like, that's a no-brainer, dude. So yeah, it was really cool launch experience for me, and just really kind of enjoying my time with what's been going on. And obviously still jamming out at F-Zero. Still the same F-Zero 99 that I've been playing for, I don't know how many years this game's been out now. 2 or 3, I feel like. But this is kind of like my go-to game. And it's just a ton of fun, even though I'm not the best at it. You guys have probably seen me crash a few times, and obviously the Grand Prix is the best of the best. I don't know, I feel like Blue Falcon maybe is a little underpowered. I don't know, but it's okay. He's just cool looking. But yeah, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, because that's that's what's really been kind of like in the back of my mind, you know, for like the last week or so, is just how fun everything is. And I guess the experience, just having that like picturesque experience, at least for my wife and I, you know, getting to go to the store and getting to, you know, get the cool photo op with the dog and just having fun and meeting people and getting swag and all that kind of stuff. Like, it takes me back to that Nintendo store experience that I had when I was with my sister-in-law, you know, 8 years ago. And it's like, yeah, that's cool, you know, because I'm watching all these launch events of people going like San Francisco and, you know, New York, and them getting the royal treatment, right? Getting to meet like Mario and Luigi and having that kind of experience. And we don't typically get that down here in Orlando. It seems like our local stores by the Florida Mall and Mall Millennia, which are very, very popular shopping centers, they do usually do some nice stuff, but nothing to that level. So this was probably like the closest like massive event we're gonna have. And let's face it, in an era of pre-orders and resales and unfortunately scalping, right? We kind of miss out on that. I think that magic is lost in this generation. You know, I was talking to a coworker on travel the other day, and he was telling me about how he's a big bourbon guy. And he was saying that a lot of the distilleries, they offer a very limited batch of special bourbon every day. And there are people that will go wait out the night before because they know what's coming, you know, like a very small batch, single barrel, that kind of thing, right? And they'll go and camp out the night before. And he's done it a bunch. And he's actually, after this work trip, I'm recording this Friday night, so he's actually heading to Bardstown, Kentucky right now to go do some big launch this weekend of some new flavor of some distiller that he's excited for. And he's like, you know, that's really, really cool. He is also a gamer as well. And I was, you know, we were kind of reminiscing about like, man, you know how cool that is that like we used to have that in the video game world. We used to have that kind of like we'd all go sit outside, you know, for our amiibos or whatever at Toys R Us, or we'd all go wait. I remember waiting with my wife to get like the Xbox 360, and how excited we all were at 10 o'clock when they handed out vouchers, and then we could all go get like Taco Bell, and we're all, you know, you and your 200 best friends who've been sitting inside the layaway center at Walmart all day are like talking to each other and having fun and getting to meet people. And I love that, you know, that culture is just gone. It really is. It's because the world's changed. I get it. There, you know, that's not how things happen anymore. So to be able to kind of have all that again a little bit in a store is so cool. And I always feel like a little bit of FOMO missing out when I'm looking at these massive stores, and it's like, man, I wish there was a Nintendo store down here in Orlando we could like all go to and, you know, do little swag bags and try to win a Warp Pipe Pass and the hottest ticket in town kind of thing. So we don't really get that. So to be able to have that, at least on a small scale, is great. And then to kind of have that magic just keep going on even after the event by, you know, for me, reminiscing with like this old library is just, it's really cool. It's a fun time. And, you know, I'm trying to think back to when a launch like hit me so hard in the heartstrings. And I mean, even, listen, like I said, I've already said it like 5 times in this video. Like, I am a Sony pony, like no doubt about it. I'm a hardcore Sony pony. I love me some Sony stuff. But even in the launch of the PlayStation 5, you know, there was a lot of hype, I think, in getting the 30th anniversary edition, just because I knew it was so rare. You know, like basically taking the day off work and like waiting outside for it. Like, I knew that existed and I knew it was coming, but the luster did wear off somewhat quickly. I don't really recall any like groundbreaking title at launch of the PlayStation 5 Pro that made me feel the way that Legend of Zelda did. Yes, there were some great graphical enhancements, and it was fun to rediscover the library again and to go play Demon's Souls again and to go check out the Days Gone remaster and the 77th reiteration of The Last of Us 2 remaster, and seeing the up-res and graphics and the performance and all these wonderful things. And I like that. That's all phenomenal and great and tons of fun. But nothing like the magic of Nintendo. And just when you kind of take that whole experience and that whole era and put it all together, it's like, you know, there is something really special here. In stark contrast, I think, maybe a different way to frame it, kind of thinking through this with you all. You know, maybe a different way to frame it is think of kind of how flat Xbox has kind of felt. I know that lately the Game Pass system, the Game Pass service has really kind of stepped it up significantly, and whether you loved or hated their current showcase, basically, everything you saw is coming to you, and they're going to add the Xbox tablet that's coming out soon, and I did a video on that talking about that performance and what we think that might look like, and yeah, it's exciting for sure. Like, it's a cool time, but it wears off. I feel like that wears off, and I can't really think. I think I knew in the back of my mind something was wrong when Project Scorpio came out. Because I remember going to FanFest, which was probably one of the coolest things on the planet, by the way. I got to meet Phil Spencer, I got to meet Major Nelson, I got to meet all the important people of Xbox, right? It was cool as hell. And going to the press conference and watching them announce the Scorpio and talk about, what the next generation of Xbox is going to look like. And, it's the most powerful console on Earth. They all gave us jerseys that said the most powerful console on Earth. Like, it was a cool time for sure. No doubt about it. But I remember sitting in stage next to some people that I'm not even friends with anymore. They were really cool dudes. I remember we all took an Uber together. I don't remember the guys' names, but they're just, your new best friends for the day, right? I remember watching the announcement of Scorpio, and Phil announces the price and the games that came out for it. And collectively, everyone just groaned. It wasn't like there was no excitement. It was so bad. It was like, oh no, it felt so flat. And I remember my cell phone signal was absolute garbage. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to text my wife at all during the event. She was at the mall. I think it was Amon Green. It was some football player. He was there demoing she got to go pick up and hold the console, and they had like a little mini event at the mall. They were giving out hats and stuff, which was really sweet of her because she gave me her ticket. We didn't get 2 tickets, so she swapped out and gave me her ticket. So I went to the showcase, and she ended up going to the mall. She's such a sweet lady. But I remember when I finally got my phone, we were on the bus going back because they shuttled us over from the convention center over to where the Xbox, I think they called it like the Microsoft Theater or something, but it was like basically a giant venue. We were on the bus coming back, and everybody's like, well, what do you think? And everybody was like nervous laughing. Now you got to remember, the people that are in this are the biggest of the biggest fans. They're the people who you have probably seen on social media, the ones that do the dedicated Xbox podcasts, the ones that, all these people, they're all there. I'm meeting all these guys, basically my heroes in a sense, sitting on the bus with them, talking on the way back home to the main event, or to the holding hall at the end. And everybody was kind of nervous laughing, nobody was digging it. And I think somebody finally said, well, that happened, and everybody kind of let out this nervous laughter, right? And I remember texting my wife when I finally got signal, and I was like, hey, what is the hype there? And she's like, oh, it's cool, we got to meet this football player, and I've got a picture with him, and it was a cool event. What did you guys think? And I said, man, everybody here is kind of crapping on it. She's like, oh wow, I didn't have that impression. And I'm like, okay, well maybe it's just, listen, this is the dawn of social media, right? Or the heyday of social media. It's cool to hate things, right? It's cool to dump on things, and it sucks, and Phil sucks, and he's stupid, right? I mean, we've seen this before. However, I go back home. We talk about it, we go back home, and we didn't want to pre-order. We decided we weren't going to pre-order. We were like, it didn't really move the needle for us. And I was like, man, I can't believe that happened, but it did. I think I'm right, got here. Yep. It just didn't win us over. We ultimately did pre-order it because they had the Scorpio edition, and it honestly was one of my least used consoles. I don't remember playing it a lot. I think it was just one of those we're 2 dinks, we got a bunch of dough, let's just do it. Why not? We don't want to miss out. But the hype wasn't there. So that's kind of a stark contrast, I think, to the Nintendo, where The hype level's at an all-time high. It's selling out. It's breaking records. It's being talked about. People love it. People can't wait to play more of it and talk more of it and enjoy it. And then in stark contrast, you go back to kind of where we're at with, you know, what's going on right now with, or what happened then with the Xbox, and it was just like, oh, kind of lame. And honestly, I think now you really look at it, I mean, I don't know if Xbox really moves the needle. You know, I think even the diehard Xbox fans, even with all the great Game Pass stuff, and I think there's still a lot of good stuff, I still think there's nothing there that's like a fierce loyalty to the brand. I think us Sony guys are always going to be probably the loudest, most obnoxious people you'll ever meet because we're diehard Sony people. I think the Nintendo people are generally like more lighthearted, but you know, diehard fans in their own way. And then everybody else who's just kind of like that defeated guy in the room, it's the Xbox fans. So getting to enjoy the Switch launch with everybody, getting a console, being able to pick up a couple, you can see them behind me over here, that I'm going to be swapping to some of my friends here soon. You know, I got a couple extras for people who want them for their kids, and it's like, it's a nice thing to do, but like, it's hype. There's people texting me like, hey, how is that console? Like, hey, what's, you know, so-and-so is my favorite game. Did you get a chance to play, you know, did you get a chance to play this game yet? Or what do you think about the performance of this? Or like, that's really, really cool. I really, really like that. I wonder if this lobby crashed or something. Yeah, I figured it did. It's a really neat thing. So just a tale of multiple console launches, I guess, you know, looking at things across time, and, you know, the gift of being an old man now, looking at things from, you know, been doing this like as a life passion, massive hobby. You know, I've been a gamer now, thinking back to like, you know, Nintendo days, but, you know, really being able to have enough money to go wait for like the PlayStation 2 and the Wii and all. Like, I look back at those times, and like my wife and I would split up, and she'd go to one store and I'd go to another, and we'd text each other if we could get consoles and that sort of thing. Like, I've seen this, but nothing I really would say nothing is like aggressive as like the original Switch launch, but I feel like this is like a pretty close second, at least for me. So I'll be curious to hear from you all in the comments. Well, if you made it this far, if not, that's fine. I just wanted to get some content out there, but I'd be curious to hear from you guys, you know, your thoughts on some of the console launches that you've experienced over the years, and, you know, how it makes you feel, and what your thoughts are. Did you get a chance to go out to those midnight releases and experience that camaraderie? Did you get an opportunity to pre-order something and that's where you enjoy it, just like with your immediate family at home? Are you like me and like obsessing and scouring over the internet, wanting to hear what people think, and looking at the reviewers and frame rates and performance and updates, and, you know, wondering if your favorite game runs better? Like, I'm curious to hear from you guys. Let me know, because I think we all handle this really cool time differently. And, you know, you think about if Nintendo's going to release a console every 8 years, which seems kind of unrealistic at this point. I mean, I think they waited a very long time, but they got a very deep loyalty, right, with the new console. But looking at Nintendo now, especially with the backward compatibility and the built-in library that a lot of people have curated, and basically the dependency at this point for the Switch Online, like, they've made it almost a must-have with the digital library and the free upgrades and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, let's say Nintendo releases a console, maybe it might not be 8 years, right? But just think about it. I'm 40, I'll be 43 here soon. I mean, I'd like to think I'm gonna die with a controller in my hand, right? I'd like to think that that's the case. It might not be, I don't know. I don't see myself not being a gamer, but those launches are going to be very, very limited for me coming out of this. Like, I've probably got like 4 left, really, before I'm just kind of like a grumpy old man who's like doesn't have tolerance for this stuff. You know, that'll put me into like my late 60s or 70s. So for me, I think it's also kind of a time to look back, and, you know, I think the young generation probably didn't get to experience a lot of this stuff. And maybe they don't appreciate it because the world's changed because of COVID, and everything's just delivered to your door and it just works, and you don't have to leave your house, and everybody has a computer and a smartphone, and maybe that like personal connection to a console launch is lost. I wonder, I don't know. I don't have kids, so I can't speak to it, but I wonder about that. So looking at all that and thinking of kind of like where everything ends up, it's like, man, it really does take you back even further and just really make you appreciate the launch. So that'll wrap up my video for today. I just wanted to kind of sum up some thoughts on console launches and why this one's so special to me, and the reminiscing of some of the older ones that meant a lot to me as well. I'll be a little bit better about content over the next week. My wife's going on travel, as I mentioned, so I'll be a bachelor. I'll probably be doing some videos later on, probably another live stream in the next day or two, talking about maybe Zelda. Maybe we'll play some Zelda. Maybe we'll play some more F-Zero 99, which is like I said, is my guilty pleasure. I want to do a review on Power Stone and Power Stone 2 coming up, because I did buy the collector edition for the Capcom Fighting Collection 2, and just some other video game stuff that I've been seeing popping around. So stay tuned for all that. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much. And like I said, leave some comments below. I do appreciate hearing your feedback and interacting with all you guys in the comments. It's really, really cool. So that'll wrap it up for today. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care and bye-bye.